Hello, welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and another Rev review. This is a channel where we spend a little bit of time talking about products that I personally test, and then I recommend them to my client base, and at some point create a video and talk about them with you. So if you think those things are important to you, you think it might enrich your life or maybe entertain you, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit the notification bell so you know when I have posted another video. Today we're going to talk about brake pads, specifically disc brake pads. And today's September the 8th of 2021, and we are still feeling the effects of COVID-19 lockdowns and factory shutdowns and increased demand beyond what any manufacturer thought they would ever have. And so even with extra shifts and extra personnel, they just can't keep up with demand. And so if you've been searching the internet everywhere for these, and these are Shimano disc brake pads with the fins on them, and this is the L03A. It's kind of a unicorn at the moment. No one has these. I do. Most of them are pre-sold, but it's important that I talk to you about this pad in relation to what we're going to talk about today. So, of course, you've seen from the title that I'm going to talk about MTX brake pads. Now, a little bit of history. This is a little bit of info and a little bit of history. This company is out of Salt Lake City, Utah. The owner, Kevin, came from the motocross background, and he wanted to invent a better pad. And so he has a wide breadth of product, but what we're talking about today is a substitute for the L03A. Now, I have been using these pads, the red label, MTX red label pads on my personal bike. And if you follow me on any social media or Strava, and all the links will be below, you'll know I climb a lot. And so I try very hard to put product through its paces before I feel confident enough recommending it to my clients. Now, this little square thing is going to change your life. Well, it'll save your life too, but it's going to change your life. I have been an anti-disc brake guy for a long time, and I'm a traditionalist, purist, or maybe you might say a contrarian. So while everyone's going with Di2 and SRAM Red Access and disc brakes, I'm still riding a lot of my steel bikes with rim brakes, and I don't have any problem either keeping up on the up or having adequate control of my bike. Some might say exceptional control on my bike while descending steep, curvy, or straight shot descent. So, but in talking with the owner, Kevin, I thought, well, okay, I'll give these pads a change, because he even said to me, I think these pads will change your mind on disc brake performance. And he was right. There's going to be more information on my review and how I went about testing them. Very unscientific, but that doesn't matter, because when you're out on the road, you're not doing lab tests and things like that. You're riding your bike, you've got a descent, you've got a car door that's opened up, you've got a red light that's hit just as you're descending at speed, and you need to jam on the brakes to get the bike stopped and provide safety to you. All right, so let's talk about these pads just briefly. And there are some important things I need to point out to you. And I'm sorry if these are out of the shot whenever I'm talking. But really important. You want power out of your braking system. You want modulation, and you want silence, right? One of my pet peeves as a mechanic and as a rider of disc brakes is just the constant squealing, the noise. If they get just a tiny bit of contamination, they're miserable, in my opinion. I like a nice quiet bike, and this is one of the things that I do not like about disc brake bikes. All right, so you get the power, get the modulation, and you want the silence. That's what the red label pads are. That's some of their strong suits. Now, the other thing is they fit the broadest range of riders. So if whether you're a heavier person or loaded or lightweight rider, this fits most people. But there is a product that is more specific towards that, and I'll cover that in just a second. Now, they're incredibly smooth. You got very nice feel at the lever, and it just gives you excellent braking control. So this is the pad I've been using, and I find it incredible. The paradigm shift has happened to me for the disc brake movement on road bikes. Now, after talking again with the owner about these pads, he said, I want you to try the gold label pads and tell me what you think. So these pads provide a little bit more power. So you still get the power of the red label, but you get more power, okay? You get that control, and you get durability. So one of the things about, purely resin pads, which this is not, by the way, there is a ceramic compound, and actually one thing you'll notice too is that there are no fins on this pad, and that's something we can talk about as well when we talk about how they look compared to the Shimano. Hopefully that fits in pretty well. Okay, but I'll talk about that here in just a second. But the big thing about these pads is not only do you get that power, that control, and that modulation, but you're also going to get, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You're going to get that power, and you are still going to have that modulation, and it basically feels like a sintered pad, or metallic as some people call them. Shimano calls them metallic, and SRAM calls them sintered, and much of the other industry has either a semi-metallic or something like that. But that's what this pad will give you. And one more important thing, and that's heat management, outstanding heat management. So if you're loaded tourer, if you're a heavier rider, let's say 200 plus, and don't forget to include the bike as part of that. So if you are a system over 200 pounds, bike, rider, bottles, repair kit, all that stuff, then maybe you should be looking at the gold pads. And durability, as we mentioned earlier, that's important too, because if you ride in this area here in Southern California, there's going to be an excessive amounts of wear on your brakes brake pads, because there are so many hills here. My ride on Saturday was 56 miles with 10,000 feet. Those 10,000 feet were in the first 52 miles, and then 4-mile descent back to my shop. So the opportunity to run down your pads is very prevalent in this area. Now, I mentioned that I would go back and talk about these fins. So one of the things that that Kevin told me, that if you engineer the brake compound, then you don't have to deal with having fins on your pads. And it is important to note that only Shimano does the fins. No other component manufacturer does. SRAM doesn't. Campagnolo doesn't. And so you have just one brand that does that, and everyone else, SRAM for all their heavy duty downhill bikes and stuff, they don't use fins. They use their compound to take care of that. So, and that's the point here with the gold pads, better heat management. Okay, so today what I'm going to do is, I've been riding the red pads. I'm going to switch over to the gold pads. Now, because we're in the same family, we're kind of in the same ecosystem, if you will, iPhone and Mac, we're going to go from a from a red pad to a gold pad. And because they both have a ceramic compound as the common denominator between the two pads, it shouldn't need much brake prep. But if you wanted to, you could also do the brake rotor prep, and it just depends on what you have handy. So in this case, I have some sandpaper here. It's 120 grit. Sometimes I have whatever I have on hand, but that's about what you want to do, and that's pretty much what's recommended by MTX. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to swap out the pads. I've got a night ride tonight at 5:30, and I'll give these a go. And it's still in the both pads are still in the process of my product review. I run a shop. I'm really busy, so I can't ride every day, and I try to make the rides count. And tonight's a night ride, and then probably the next time I can ride is Saturday again. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today, that you don't have to just use the Shimano OE pads. You can use these as alternatives. I've been using them, the red ones, with very good success, but there's going to be more to talk about. And now with the gold pads, I've got another chapter to talk about. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. By the way, I posted a video, just a really short 15-second video, but basically we got to 500 subscribers. I'm over the moon on this. I didn't think 500 people would be interested in my stuff, but it's humbling. It's great. I want to be able to have more time available to test products for you, to give you alternatives, and especially with this huge product and component and bike shortage, I'd like to offer you some alternatives. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you up the road.